The chamber was massive. Captain Day-Wan had never seen a room so large in his entire life. The ceiling stretched up so high that clouds could form inside it. Around him stood creatures from 100 different worlds, and none of them looked human. Some were tall and made of living crystal that caught the light and threw rainbows across the floor. Others looked like snakes but walked on 6 legs. There were beings made of gas inside clear suits, creatures covered in fur, and things that Day-One couldn't even describe. They all had one thing in common. They were looking at the human delegation with barely hidden amusement. Day-One stood straight in his uniform. Behind him stood his team. Engineer Hana held a data tablet in her hands, reading the information that had just been sent to them. Specialist Ji-Wan stood at attention, but her jaw was tight with anger. Ambassador Taeho stood at the front, his face showing the polite smile he wore during negotiations. The Galactic Council had finally accepted humanity into the great community of spacefaring species. It had taken 50 years of asking, begging, and proving that humans deserved a place among the stars. And now, after all that time, the Council was giving Earth its welcome gift. It was an insult. The speaker for the Council was a Velthan, one of the crystal beings. Its voice came through a translator that made it sound calm and pleasant. We present to humanity the vessel known as Remnant. May it serve your species well. As you learn the ways of galactic civilization. Hana looked up from her tablet, her eyes wide. She caught Day-One's attention and shook her head slightly. The message was clear. This was bad. The hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. The ship rotated slowly for everyone to see. It was ugly. The hull was old and covered in pits and scars from hundreds of years in space. The design was ancient. Something from a time when the current council members were probably still learning to build their first rockets. This is a Rixian mining hauler, Hana whispered to Day-One. It's over 300 years old. Around the chamber, Day-One could hear the soft sounds of alien laughter. It wasn't loud or rude, but it was there. The council was laughing at them. The Velthan speaker continued. The Remnant has been fully decommissioned from mining service. All weapon systems have been removed, as per council regulations. The hull meets minimum safety standards for space travel. We trust this will aid humanity in establishing your trade routes and defending your interests in the galaxy. Defending their interests. With a ship that had no weapons. A ship that was older than some human countries. A ship that looked like it would fall apart if someone sneezed near it. Taeho's smile never wavered. The people of Earth thank the Galactic Council for this generous gift. We accept the Remnant with gratitude. More soft laughter rippled through the chamber. Ji-Wan leaned close to Hana. They're mocking us, she hissed under her breath. I know. Hana replied quietly. A Rixian representative, one of the snake-like creatures, spoke next. Its translator made it sound smooth and friendly. We hope humanity will find the vessel educational. Mining haulers are excellent ships for learning basic spacefaring operations. Simple, sturdy, and very forgiving of mistakes. The message was clear. The council thought humans were children who needed training wheels. Day-One felt anger burning in his chest, but he kept his face neutral. He had been a military officer for 20 years. He knew how to control his emotions. He looked across the chamber and met Hana's eyes. She was angry too. He could see it in the way she held her tablet, in the set of her shoulders. But he could also see something else in her expression. Determination. The ceremony continued for another hour. Various council members made speeches about cooperation and learning. They talked about how humanity would grow and develop under the council's guidance. They spoke about patience and understanding. What they really meant was that humans should stay quiet and know their place. Finally, it ended. The human delegation was escorted out of the chamber by a floating drone that guided them back to their shuttle. Nobody spoke until they were inside, with the doors sealed. A mining hauler, Ji-Wan said, her voice shaking with rage. They gave us a 300-year-old mining hauler with no weapons and expect us to defend our trade routes. It's worse than that, Hana said, scrolling through the data on her tablet. The engines are 2 generations behind current technology. The hull has micrometeorite damage that should have been repaired decades ago. The life support system is outdated. And look at this. The power core is original equipment. It's a miracle this thing still runs. Taeho sat down heavily in one of the shuttle seats. His diplomatic smile was gone now, replaced with exhaustion. They never intended to welcome us as equals. This is their way of telling us we don't belong. So what do we do? Ji-won asked. Dae-won stood at the front of the shuttle, looking out the window at the massive council station. We take their garbage, and we make them regret laughing at us. Hana looked up at him. Captain? They gave us scrap, Dae-won said. They expect us to fail. They expect us to come back in a few months and admit we can't handle space on our own. They want us to beg for their help, to accept whatever scraps they throw our way. He turned to face his team. We're not going to do that. We're going to take that ancient piece of junk and we're going to turn it into something they've never seen before. The council has strict regulations about ship modifications, Taeho warned. If we violate the treaties, they'll use it as an excuse to kick us out completely. Then we won't violate the treaties, Dae-won said. We'll follow every rule exactly as it's written. But we're going to be creative about it. Hana was already thinking. He could see the wheels turning in her head. Galactic regulations focus on weapons and propulsion systems. They're very specific about what you can and cannot install, but they're surprisingly vague about everything else. Can you work with that? Dae-won asked. Hana smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had just been challenged and was ready to prove everyone wrong. Captain, give me 6 months and a team of good engineers. I'll build you something special. What about weapons? Ji-won asked. They stripped everything. Regulations say we can't install military-grade weapons without permits, Hana said slowly. But mining equipment isn't classified as military hardware. And there are a lot of industrial tools that can be very dangerous in the right hands. Dae-won nodded. Taeho, when we get back to Earth, I need you to request every permit and license we're entitled to under the treaties. Everything for a registered mining vessel. You're really going to try this? Taeho asked. They laughed at us, Dae-won said simply. They gave us trash and expected us to fail. I'm going to show them what humans do with trash. We recycle it. We rebuild it. We make it into something better. The shuttle began its journey back to the human transport ship. Inside, the team sat in silence. But it wasn't the silence of defeat. It was the silence of people making plans. Hana was already sketching ideas on her tablet. Ji-won was reviewing the ship's specifications, looking for weaknesses and opportunities. Taeho was composing messages to Earth, requesting resources and personnel. And Dae-won stood at the window, watching the council station grow smaller behind them. The Galactic Council had made a mistake. They had assumed that humans would accept humiliation quietly. They had assumed that giving Earth an obsolete wreck would keep humanity in its place. They were about to learn that humans didn't accept limits. They didn't give up when things looked impossible. And most importantly, they didn't forgive being laughed at. The remnant was waiting for them in orbit. Soon, it would become something the galaxy had never seen before. Soon, the council would stop laughing. Dae-won smiled. The real work was about to begin. The remnant hung in the construction bay like a dead whale. The hull was worse in person than it had looked in the holograms. Hana stood in front of the observation window, staring at the ship that was supposed to be humanity's ticket to respect among the stars. It's uglier than I thought, said Sora, the chief mechanic. She had arrived on the moon base 3 days ago, with a team of 50 engineers and technicians. I've seen better-looking scrap metal. That's exactly what it is, Hana replied. 300-year-old scrap metal. But It's our scrap metal now. Behind them, the construction bay was filling up with people and equipment. Earth had sent its best and brightest. Engineers, mechanics, weapons specialists, computer experts, and fabricators. Over 200 people were going to work on the remnant for the next 6 months. Captain Day-Wan walked into the observation room. Is everyone here? Last shuttle arrived an hour ago, Hana confirmed. We can start the briefing. The main conference room was packed. People stood along the walls because there weren't enough seats. Hana stood at the front with a massive display screen behind her, showing the remnant from every angle. Welcome to Project Revival, she began. Our mission is simple. We're going to take this ancient mining hauler and turn it into a ship that can defend human interests in space. We're going to do this without violating a single Galactic Council regulation. And we're going to do it in 6 months. No. And we're going to do it. Someone in the crowd laughed. That's impossible, Hana smiled. That's what the Council thinks too. That's why we're going to prove them wrong. She changed the display to show the Council's regulations. Galactic law is very specific about certain things. Weapon systems, propulsion, technology, shield generators, these all require permits and inspections. But the Council made their rules, thinking like aliens. They didn't account for how humans think. What does that mean? Asked Junho, the weapons specialist who had just joined the team. It means we're going to follow their rules exactly, Hana explained. We're registered as a mining vessel. That means we can carry mining equipment. The Council doesn't classify industrial tools as weapons. That's our first advantage. She brought up a schematic of a railgun. This is a mining bore. It uses magnetic acceleration to drill into asteroids. Completely legal for a mining ship. If that same technology happens to launch a projectile at high velocity, well, that's just physics. The room went quiet as people began to understand. The Council's regulations say we can't install military-grade power plants without permits, Hana continued. But there's no rule against upgrading to a more efficient civilian reactor. Sora, what did you find? Sora stood up. Human antimatter reactors are smaller than the fusion cores most alien ships use. They're also more volatile and harder to control. Most species won't use them because they're considered too dangerous. But they produce 3 times the power in half the space. Are we allowed to install one? Someone asked. There's nothing in the regulations that says we can't, Sora replied. The Council probably didn't think anyone would be crazy enough to put an antimatter reactor in an old mining ship. But we're humans. Crazy is what we do best. Laughter filled the room. It was the good kind of laughter. The kind that came from people who were ready to do something incredible. Hana spent the next hour going through every system on the remnant. The hull would be reinforced with human-designed composite materials. The shields would use a frequency modulation system that Earth scientists had developed. The sensors would be completely rebuilt, using technology the Council had overlooked in their regulations. What about weapons? Junho asked. Mining bores are one thing. But we need real firepower. Show them, Day-One said from the back of the room. Junho grinned and brought up his own designs. Missiles are classified as weapons. But cargo deployment systems aren't. If we build launch tubes that are technically designed to jettison cargo containers, and those containers happen to have engines and guidance systems. He shrugged. That's just very advanced cargo management. The Council will know what we're doing. Someone pointed out. Of course they will, Hana agreed. But they can't stop us unless we actually violate the regulations. And we won't. Everything we're doing is technically legal. They wrote the rules. We're just being creative about following them. The briefing lasted another 2 hours. Every team received their assignments. Sora would lead the reactor replacement. Junho would handle the weapons systems. Mina, the communications officer, would rebuild the sensor array. Hyun, the tactical officer, would redesign the internal layout. When everyone left, Daewon and Hana stood alone in the conference room. "Do you really think we can pull this off?" Daewon asked. "I know we can," Hana said. The council made a mistake. They think their way is the only way. They've been building ships the same way for thousands of years. Elegant, efficient, safe. But that makes them predictable. And humans? Humans are chaos, Captain. We break things and rebuild them better. We take risks that make other species nervous. We look at a problem and ask, what if we tried something completely different? That's our advantage. The work began the next day. The remnant was towed into the main construction bay, and the teams swarmed over it like ants on a picnic. Sora's team started by cutting out the old fusion reactor. It took 3 days just to disconnect all the ancient systems. When they finally pulled it free, they found that the reactor chamber was bigger than they needed for the human antimatter core. "We've got extra space," Sora reported. "What do you want to do with it?" "Redundancy," Hana decided. "Install backup power cells. If the main reactor goes down, we need to keep fighting." Junho was having the time of his life. The old mining bore mounts were perfect for his railgun designs. He just needed to upgrade the magnetic coils and power feeds. The cargo bays became missile tubes with some creative engineering. He even found a way to install a kinetic accelerator in what used to be the ore processing chamber. "This thing could punch a hole through a small moon," he said proudly. Mina discovered something interesting about the old sensor array. It used frequencies that modern military countermeasures didn't account for. It's like using a really old radio in a world of digital signals. Nobody's jamming these frequencies anymore, because nobody uses them. "Can you upgrade it?" Hana asked. "I can make it see things that modern sensors would miss," Mina promised. Hyun's work was the most radical. Standard galactic ships were built with safety in mind. Wide corridors, multiple redundancies, buffer zones between critical systems. Hyun threw all of that out. "We're making this ship as compact as possible," he explained. "Shorter distances between stations means faster response times. Less empty space means a smaller target profile. Yes, it's more dangerous if we get hit. But we're also harder to hit in the first place." "The council inspectors will have a fit," someone said. "The council inspectors aren't going to be the ones flying this ship," Hyun replied. 3 months into the project, they had their first major test. The antimatter reactor was installed and ready for activation. The entire team gathered in the control room. "All systems showing green," Sora reported. She looked nervous. Antimatter reactors were notoriously temperamental. "Start the sequence," Daewon ordered. The reactor hummed to life. Power readings climbed steadily. For a moment, everything was perfect. Then, alarms started blaring. "Containment field fluctuating," someone shouted. Sora's hands flew over the controls. "It's the magnetic bottles. The fluctuations are outside normal parameters." "Shut it down?" Hana asked. "No," Sora said. "Give me a minute." She made adjustments, her fingers dancing across the control panel. The alarms slowly quieted. The power readings stabilized. The reactor settled into a steady rhythm. "Containment stable," Sora announced. "We're at full power." The room erupted in cheers. "Good work," Daewon said. "One system down. About 50 more to go." The next 3 months were a blur of work, testing, and problem-solving. Every system had issues. Every new installation created unexpected complications. But the team kept pushing forward. Hana barely slept. She was everywhere at once, helping Sora with the reactor, discussing weapons placement with Junho, reviewing sensor designs with Mina, checking Hyun's layouts. She ran on coffee and determination. Finally, 6 months after they started, the remnant was ready. It didn't look like the ship that had been delivered to Earth. The hull was sleeker, reinforced with composite armor that gleamed under the construction bay lights. The engines glowed with barely contained power. The weapons ports were disguised as mining equipment, But anyone with military training could see what they really were. Hana stood with Day One in front of the observation window, looking at their creation. "She's beautiful," Day One said. "She's a warship pretending to be a mining hauler," Hana replied. "By council regulations, we haven't violated a single treaty. On paper, this is still a refurbished industrial vessel. And in reality?" Hana smiled. "In reality, Captain, we've built something the galaxy has never seen. A human ship. Fast, dangerous, and absolutely unwilling to follow the rules everyone else plays by. Think she'll hold together in a real fight? Only one way to find out." The Remnant launched 2 days later, beginning its patrol routes in the territories Earth had been assigned. The Council had given humanity the most worthless space in the galaxy, far from trade lanes and important systems. That was fine with Day One. It gave them room to test their ship away from prying eyes. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you gave humans scrap and expected them to fail. They built something legendary. The Remnant had been on patrol for 2 months. Every day was the same. They would jump to a new system, scan for activity, find nothing, and jump to the next system. The territory Earth had been assigned was dead space. No planets worth colonizing, no resources worth mining, no trade routes worth protecting. Captain Dewan sat in his command chair, watching the stars drift past on the main view screen. His crew was getting restless. They had built a warship and were using it to look at empty space. Another day, another dead system. Jiwan muttered from her station. "I'm starting to think the Council gave us this territory because there's literally nothing here worth protecting." "That's exactly why they gave it to us," Hyun replied. "He was reviewing tactical data that would never be used. They want us to get bored and give up." They. Mina was at her communications station, running endless diagnostics on the sensor array. She had upgraded it so much that it could probably detect a ship on the other side of the galaxy. But there were never any ships to detect. "Contact!" Mina suddenly shouted. Everyone on the bridge snapped to attention. Day One leaned forward in his chair. "Report. 3 ships just decloaked, bearing 270 Mark 15. They're fast attack vessels, matching the profile of Krell raiders." Day One felt his pulse quicken. The Krell were pirates who operated on the edges of Council space. They were known for hitting isolated ships, stealing cargo, and disappearing before help could arrive. They were also known for being vicious. "Distance?" he asked calmly. 40,000 kilometers and closing fast," Mina reported. "They'll be in weapons range in 3 minutes. Battle stations," Day One ordered. "All hands. This is not a drill." The bridge exploded into controlled chaos. Jiwan brought up the tactical display. Hyun started calculating intercept courses. Mina fed sensor data to every station. Down in engineering, Sora started pushing the reactor to combat power levels. "They're hailing us," Mina said. "Put them through." The view screen changed to show a Krell captain. The species looked like a cross between a lizard and an insect, with multiple eyes and sharp mandibles. The translator made its voice sound harsh and mechanical. "Human vessel. You will cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. Surrender your cargo, and you will not be harmed." Day One smiled. "This is Captain Day One of the Remnant. We're a registered mining vessel under Galactic Council protection. Any attack on us would be a violation of Council law." The Krell captain made a sound that might have been laughter. "The Council doesn't patrol this territory. No one will know what happened here. Surrender or die." The transmission cut off. "They're accelerating," Jiwan reported. "Bringing weapons online." Jiwan. Day One looked at Hyun. "Execute Protocol Anvil 3. Hyun grinned. Finally, Protocol Anvil 3 was something they had developed during testing. It was based on a simple idea. When someone expects you to run, charge instead. "All power to engines," Day One ordered. "Junho, prepare railguns. Target the lead ship." The Remnant accelerated directly at the Krell raiders. The pirates had expected their target to flee or call for help. They weren't prepared for an old mining ship to attack. Junho had his fingers on the weapon's controls. Railguns ready, Captain. Range in 5 seconds. Range in. Fire when ready. The railguns opened up. They weren't energy weapons like most ships used. They were magnetic accelerators that launched solid metal projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. The Krell shields were designed to deflect energy weapons. They did nothing against solid matter moving that fast. The first projectile punched through the lead raider's shields like they weren't there. It hit the hull amidships and kept going, tearing through the ship from front to back. The raider exploded in a brilliant flash. One down, Junior reported. Reloading. The other 2 Krell ships scattered, clearly shocked. Their formation broke apart as they tried to evade. They're running, G1 called out. Don't let them, Day1 said. Sora, give me everything the reactor can handle. Mina, track both ships. I want to know where they're going before they do. The Remnant's upgraded engines flared. The antimatter reactor screamed as Sora pushed it past safe operating limits. The ship accelerated faster than any mining vessel should be able to move. Mina's enhanced sensors tracked every move the Krell made. The one on the left is trying to circle around. The other one is making for the asteroid belt. Hyun, cut off their escape route, Day1 ordered. The tactical officer plotted a course that would intercept both ships. Setting course now. Junho, prepare the cargo deployment system, Day1 said. Junho smiled. The cargo deployment system was his favorite creation. It was technically designed to jettison cargo containers in an emergency. The fact that those containers had engines, guidance systems, and explosive warheads was just a bonus. Missiles armed and ready, Junho reported. They're technically cargo pods, sir. Of course they are, Day1 replied. Deploy cargo. 6 missiles launched from the Remnant. To the Krell, they looked like the mining ship was jettisoning containers in a panic. By the time they realized the truth, it was too late. The missiles adjusted course mid-flight, their targeting systems locked onto the Krell engine signatures. The raider trying to circle around attempted to evade, but Mina had predicted its moves. The missiles compensated, 3 of them converging on the ship. The explosions were visible even from the Remnant's bridge. Second target destroyed, Ji-won confirmed. The last Krell ship was making a desperate run for the asteroid belt. Maybe it thought it could hide there. Maybe it thought the human ship wouldn't follow. The last ship is sending a distress call, Mina reported. Can you jam it? Day1 asked. No, sir. It's already transmitted. The signal is spreading through subspace. Day1 nodded. Let it spread. Hyun, intercept that ship before it reaches the asteroids. The chase lasted another 2 minutes. The Krell raider was fast, but the Remnant was faster. When the gap closed to effective range, Junho activated his masterpiece. The kinetic accelerator had been installed in the old ore processing chamber. It was designed to launch chunks of refined metal at mining targets. Technically, that's all it was doing now. The fact that those chunks were traveling at relativistic speeds was just physics. Firing kinetic accelerator, Junho announced. A piece of tungsten the size of a baseball launched from the Remnant. It crossed the distance in less than a second. The Krell Raiders' shields tried to deflect it. The shields failed. The tungsten round hit the Raiders' engines and vaporized them instantly. The ship tumbled, dead in space. Target disabled, Ji-won reported. Finish it, Day1 ordered. Junho fired the railguns. The third raider joined its companions as expanding debris. Silence filled the bridge. The entire fight had lasted less than 4 minutes. Damage report? Day1 said calmly. Sora's voice came over the comm. Hull, scorching on decks 3 and 4. Shield generators are running hot, but operational. Reactor is stable. We took 1 hit from an energy weapon, but the armor held. Casualties? Minor injuries in engineering. Someone burned their hand on a hot panel. Nothing serious. Day1 allowed himself a small smile. Well done, everyone. Ji-won, Log this as a successful test of our mining equipment against unexpected obstacles. Hyun laughed. Mining equipment. Right, sir. Mina. That distress call. The Krell sent. How far will it travel? It's already been picked up by at least 6 different listening posts, Mina replied. Within a few hours, everyone in 3 sectors will know what happened here. Good, Daewon said. Good? Jiwon asked. Sir, won't that bring more trouble? It might, Daewon agreed. But it will also send a message. The Krell thought they could attack a human ship because we're new to space. Because we're weak. Now everyone knows differently. Over the next few hours, the news spread faster than Mina had predicted. A human mining ship had destroyed 3 Krell raiders in under 4 minutes. The story grew with each retelling. By the time it reached the major trade stations, people were saying the Remnant had single-handedly destroyed a Krell battle fleet. Daewon received a message from Ambassador Taeho. Congratulations, Captain. You've made quite an impression. The Council is demanding an explanation. What should I tell them? Daewon asked. Tell them the truth. You were attacked by pirates and defended yourself using the equipment available on a standard mining vessel. Everything by the book. Will they accept that? They'll have to, Taeho replied. You didn't violate any regulations. The Krell attacked you in Council-protected space. You had every right to defend yourself. After the call ended, Daewon stood on the bridge, looking at his crew. They had just won their first real fight. They had proven that the Remnant was more than just an old piece of scrap. Captain, Mina said. I'm picking up increased chatter on the local networks. A lot of people are talking about us. What are they saying? They're calling us the ghost ship. The human vessel that appears out of nowhere and destroys everything it touches. Jiwon grinned. I like it. Don't get overconfident, Daewon warned. This was just 3 raiders. There are bigger threats out there, but in his heart, he knew they had crossed a line. The Remnant was no longer just an experiment. It was a proven combat vessel. The Council had given them garbage, expecting them to fail. Instead, they had built a legend. Down in engineering, Sora was already making notes about the reactor's performance. We can push it harder next time, she muttered to herself. Junho was reviewing the weapons data, planning improvements to the railgun targeting systems. Mina was analyzing the sensor logs, looking for ways to detect cloaked ships even earlier. Hyun was already designing new combat protocols. The crew of the Remnant wasn't celebrating their victory. They were planning for the next fight. One, because they all knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was watching now. Some would see them as heroes, others would see them as a threat, and some would see them as a challenge to be defeated. Let them come, Daewon thought. We'll show them what happens when you underestimate humans. The Remnant set course for its next patrol sector, leaving behind only debris and a warning that would echo across the stars. Humanity had arrived. And they weren't asking for permission anymore. 3 months had passed since the fight with the Krell Raiders. The Remnant's name had spread across the galaxy faster than anyone could have predicted. What started as a simple combat report had grown into something much bigger. Captain Daewon stood in his quarters, reading the latest intelligence reports from Earth. The news was both good and concerning. Good, because humanity was finally being taken seriously. Concerning because that attention came with complications. There was a knock on his door. Come in, he called. Hana entered, holding a data tablet. Captain, you need to see this. She handed him the tablet. It showed a list of contract requests. Companies, merchants, and even some government organizations were asking to hire the Remnant as an escort. 15 requests just this week, Hana said, including one from a Queller merchant fleet. The Queller never hire outside security. Daewon scrolled through the list. The payments being offered were substantial. Earth could use that money. But there was something else in the reports that caught his attention. What about this? He asked, pointing to a diplomatic memo. That's from Ambassador Teho, Hana explained. The Velthans want to talk. Not officially, but they've sent private messages asking about our ship modifications. The same Velthans who laughed at us 6 months ago? The very same, Hana said with a smile. Apparently, some of their military planners are very interested in our unconventional weapons systems. Day 1 set down the tablet. The Council is realizing they made a mistake. More than that, Hana replied. They're realizing that their whole approach to ship design might be outdated. We've shown them that following the same old patterns isn't the only way. There was another knock. Mina entered without waiting for permission. Captain, sorry to interrupt, but you need to hear this. She activated the communications display. Audio signals filled the room, all in different alien languages. The computer translated them in real time. Did you hear about the ghost ship? It destroyed a pirate blockade near the Tertian system. I heard it was 5 ships, not 3. My cousin works at a trading station. He says human ships are using weapons that ignore shields completely. The humans built a warship from scrap. Can you imagine what they could do with real resources? Mina turned off the feed. That's just a sample. The whole sector is talking about us. Some of it is accurate. Most of it is exaggerated. But everyone knows who we are now. Day 1 felt a strange mix of pride and worry. Pride because his crew had earned this reputation through skill and hard work. Worry because fame brought attention, and not all of it would be friendly. How is the crew handling it? He asked. They're loving it, Mina said with a grin. Junho has started calling the kinetic accelerator the Hammer of God. Sora keeps pushing the reactor harder every time we run drills. Hyun is designing combat scenarios against enemies twice our size. And Jiwan? She's been tracking pirate activity in nearby sectors. I think she's hoping for another fight. Now, Day 1 sighed. Tell everyone to stay sharp. Fame is nice, but it can make you careless. The weeks that followed proved him right. The Remnant completed 2 escort missions for merchant convoys. Both were quiet. Routine assignments. But the presence of the human ship made pirates think twice about attacking. On the 3rd escort mission, things got interesting. They were protecting a Rixian cargo hauler through a system known for pirate activity. The hauler was slow and heavily loaded, an easy target under normal circumstances. Contact, Mina announced. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Count is 7 vessels, all matching pirate configurations. 7? Jiwan said. That's more organized than usual. Pirates don't normally work in groups that large. Day 1 studied the tactical display. The pirate ships were spreading out, trying to surround both the Remnant and the cargo hauler. This wasn't a random attack. It was planned. They're hailing us, Mina reported. Let's hear it. The voice that came through was different from the Krell they had fought before. This one sounded calm, almost friendly. Human vessel, we have no quarrel with you. Leave the Rixian ship and go. This doesn't concern your species. Who am I speaking to? Daewon asked. I am Vortan, leader of the Red Star Coalition. We have heard of your ship, Captain. We respect your capabilities. That's why we're offering you a chance to leave peacefully. And if I refuse, then we will destroy you, Vortan said simply. Your ship is impressive, but we have 7 vessels and you have 1. Daewon muted the communication and looked at his crew. Opinions? It's a trap, Hyun said immediately. They're too confident. They have something planned. Agreed, Jiwon added. 7 ships is too many for a simple cargo raid. They're here for us. Mina, what are you picking up? The ships are maintaining formation but not attacking yet. They want us to run. If we do, they'll follow and leave the cargo ship alone. Why would they want that? Hana asked, over the comm from engineering. Because fighting us near the cargo hauler limits their maneuverability, Hyun explained. If they can draw us away, they can attack from all sides without worrying about hitting each other or the hauler. Daewon thought for a moment. Then he smiled. What if we give them what they want? Sir? Open a channel, Day One ordered. Vortan's face appeared on the screen again. Have you made your decision, Captain? I have, Day One said. He could see the satisfaction on Vortan's face. A wise choice. Depart on bearing 090, and we will not pursue. Day One cut the transmission. Helm, set course bearing 090. Ahead full. The remnant began to move away from the cargo hauler. The pirate ships held their positions, watching carefully. They're buying it, Mina whispered. Good, Day One replied. How far until we're outside their sensor range? At this speed, about 3 minutes. Sora, start charging the reactor. I want full combat power but keep the signature low. Junho, prepare all weapons, but don't bring them online yet. Hyun, plot a jump that will bring us back behind their formation. Understanding dawned on the bridge crew. They weren't running, they were repositioning. 3 minutes later, the remnant vanished from the pirates' sensors, apparently fleeing the system. The Red Star Coalition ships moved in on the cargo hauler. They're demanding the Rixian ship cut engines and prepare for boarding, Mina reported. The hauler is complying. 1. Are we ready? Day One asked. Jump calculated and ready, Hyun confirmed. Weapons hot, Junho added. Reactor at full power. Sora's voice came through the comm. Execute jump. The remnant dropped out of hyperspace directly behind the pirate formation. The Red Star Coalition had been focused on their prize. They never expected the human ship to come back. Fire, Day One ordered. Junho launched everything. Railguns targeted the rear ships. Missiles streaked toward the flanking vessels. The kinetic accelerator fired a round that punched through 2 pirate ships before they even knew what was happening. The neat formation dissolved into chaos. 3 ships were destroyed in the first 10 seconds. The remaining 4 tried to scatter, but they were too close together. They got in each other's way, blocking firing lanes and collision paths. Target the lead ship, Day One commanded. That's Vortan. The remnant accelerated toward Vortan's vessel. The pirate leader was good. He managed to bring his ship around and fire back. Energy bolts splashed against the remnant's shields. Shields at 80%, G1 reported. Railguns locked on target, Junho said. Fire. The projectiles tore through Vortan's shields and hull. The ship began venting atmosphere. Emergency systems kicked in, sealing the breaches. But the damage was done. The ship was dead in space. The remaining 3 pirate vessels finally broke free of the chaos and jumped to hyperspace, abandoning their leader. Let them go, Day One ordered. Mina, hail the cargo hauler. Make sure they're okay. The Rixian captain appeared on screen. His species didn't show emotion the way humans did, but Day One could sense the relief. Human vessel. We thank you. We thought you had abandoned us. We don't abandon our contracts, Day One replied. Continue on your route. We'll escort you to your destination. Day One. After the transmission ended, the bridge crew allowed themselves to relax. 4 destroyed, 3 fled, 1 disabled. G1 summarized. Not bad for a mining ship. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Vortan's ship, Mina said. He's requesting to speak with you. Day One nodded. Put him through. Vortan looked defeated. Behind him, emergency lights flashed on his damaged bridge. You tricked us. You tried to ambush us, Day One replied. We just made you think your plan was working. The Red Star Coalition will not forget this. Good, Day One said. Tell them that the next time they see a human ship, they should remember what happened here. We don't run. We don't surrender. And we don't forgive people who threaten us. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Mina, send a message to the nearest council patrol. Tell them we have a disabled pirate vessel that needs to be arrested. Include our combat logs. They're going to ask questions about our weapons, Hana warned over the comm. Let them ask. Day-1 replied. The escort mission was completed without further incident. The Rixian cargo hauler reached its destination safely, but the story of the battle spread even faster than before. A human ship had been ambushed by 7 pirates, and not only survived but destroyed most of them. The ghost ship had become something more. It had become a symbol. Back on Earth, Ambassador Tejo read the reports with a mixture of pride and concern. The remnant was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. It was protecting human interests and earning respect. But with respect came jealousy. Some species in the Council were starting to see humanity as a threat rather than a curiosity. There were quiet discussions about limiting human ship designs, about creating new regulations that would prevent another remnant. Tejo sent a message to Day-1. Be careful, Captain. You've made humanity famous. But fame can be dangerous when it makes others afraid. Day-1 read the message and smiled. Let them be afraid. The Council had given humanity scrap and expected them to fail. Instead, they had built something that made the entire galaxy take notice, and they were just getting started. The Krell had not forgotten. While the rest of the galaxy watched the remnant with a mixture of respect and fear, the Krell pirate clans were plotting revenge. The humans had humiliated them twice now, first with the 3 raiders, then again when word spread about the Red Star Coalition's defeat. In the shadows of lawless space, the Krell Warmaster called a gathering of the clans. 12 ships assembled, including 2 heavy cruisers that were normally kept in reserve. This was not a raiding party. This was a war fleet. The humans must be destroyed, the Warmaster declared. They have made us look weak. Every merchant now thinks they can resist us because one human ship got lucky. We will find this remnant, and we will tear it apart. On the bridge of the remnant, Mina was picking up unusual chatter on the communication networks. She had been monitoring pirate frequencies for weeks, looking for patterns. What she found made her blood run cold. Captain, you need to see this, she said urgently. Day-1 came to her station. Mina showed him the intercepted messages. They were encrypted, but human code breakers had gotten good at cracking alien systems. They're assembling a fleet, Mina explained. 12 ships, including heavy cruisers. All Krell. And they're looking for us specifically. Day-1 studied the data. Do we know where they are? Intelligence suggests they're gathering in the Cassian Nebula. It's perfect for hiding large ships. The nebula's interference makes sensors unreliable. How long until they move? 3 weeks, maybe less. Day-1 called an emergency meeting in the conference room. His senior staff gathered quickly. Hana, Sora, Junho, Hyun, Ji-won, and Mina all listened as he explained the situation. 12 ships, Junho said quietly. We've never faced more than 7 at once. And 2 of those are heavy cruisers, Hyun added. Those ships have real military-grade weapons and armor. Not pirate conversions. Actual warships. Can we run? Ji-won asked. We could, Day-1 replied. Request reassignment to a different sector. Let someone else deal with the Krell. But you don't want to do that, Hana said. It wasn't a question. No, Day-1 admitted. If we run, every pirate in the galaxy will know that humans can be intimidated. Everything we've built, everything we've proven, becomes meaningless. So we fight, Sora said. Somehow. Not head-on, Hyun said immediately. We can't win a direct fight against 12 ships. We need an advantage. Day-1 smiled. Then, let's give ourselves one. Mina, how good is your information about the Cassian Nebula? Very good, sir. We have detailed maps from the initial survey missions. Hyun, what do you know about nebula combat? The tactical officer thought for a moment. Most species avoid it. The interference makes sensors unreliable, communications difficult, and navigation dangerous. It's considered too risky. Perfect, Day-1 said. We're going to turn the nebula into a weapon. Over the next 2 weeks, the remnant made several quiet trips to the Cassian Nebula. They carried cargo that wasn't listed on any manifest. Junho's missiles, reprogrammed to wait dormant in the nebula clouds. Sensor beacons that could be remotely activated. Caches of supplies hidden in the densest parts of the interference field. "This is insane," Junho said as they deployed the last of the missiles. "We're building a minefield in a nebula." "Not a minefield," Day One corrected. "A maze. We're going to lead them into a trap where we control everything." Sora had been studying the nebula's composition. "Captain, there are pockets of volatile gas throughout this region. If we could ignite them. One tensa. We turn the nebula itself into a weapon." Hana finished. "I like it." The preparation took 3 weeks. The Krell fleet began moving toward the sector where the remnant was last seen. The human ship made sure they could be tracked, leaving just enough of a trail to follow. "They're taking the bait," Mina reported. "The Krell fleet is heading straight for our position." "Take us into the nebula," Day One ordered. "Let's show them where we want to fight." The Cassian Nebula was beautiful and deadly. Clouds of colored gas stretched for millions of kilometers. The interference was so strong that visual sensors worked better than advanced scanners. "They're following us in," G1 confirmed. "All 12 ships." "Good," Day One said calmly. "Activate the first beacon." Deep in the nebula, one of the sensor beacons came to life. It broadcast a strong signal that looked exactly like the remnant's reactor signature. The Krell fleet immediately changed course toward it. "They're spreading out," Hyun observed, "trying to surround what they think is us." "Perfect. Junhu, activate Mine Cluster Alpha." The Krell destroyer that was leading the search suddenly found itself surrounded by missiles. They had been waiting dormant, invisible to sensors in the nebula interference. Now they all activated at once and attacked from multiple directions. The destroyer's shields held against the first few impacts. "Enemy fleet is scattering," Mina reported. "They know it's a trap now. Deactivate the beacon," Day One ordered. "Activate Beacon 3. The Krell War Master was furious. He had expected an easy victory. Instead, his fleet was being picked apart by an enemy they couldn't even see. "All ships, maintain formation," he commanded. "The human ship is somewhere in this nebula. Find it and destroy it." But the remnant was everywhere and nowhere. The crew had spent weeks learning the nebula's patterns. They knew where the interference was strongest, where the gas pockets were thickest, where they could hide in plain sight. "Contact," Mina announced. 3 Krell ships moving through Sector 7. "That's near gas pocket 17, Sora noted. Day One nodded. "Take us in close. Junho, prepare to ignite the gas." The remnant emerged from the nebula clouds like a ghost. The 3 Krell ships immediately opened fire. Energy bolts lit up the colored gases around them. "Return fire," Day One ordered. "Then get us out of here." The railguns fired once, hitting the lead Krell ship. Then the remnant dove back into the nebula clouds. But Junho had left a present behind. A missile programmed to superheat the surrounding gas. The volatile pocket ignited. The explosion was massive, engulfing all 3 Krell ships. 2 were destroyed instantly. The third was badly damaged and drifting. 4 down, 8 to go, Jiwan said. The battle continued for hours. The remnant would appear, strike, and vanish. The Krell fleet was being torn apart by an enemy they could barely track. Every time they thought they had found the human ship, it was either a decoy beacon or another trap. The War Master's heavy cruisers were powerful, but in the nebula, they were also slow and clumsy. The interference made their advanced weapons systems unreliable. They were reduced to firing blindly at sensor ghosts. "We're down to 6 enemy ships," Hyun reported. "But we're running low on missiles." "Then we do this the hard way," Day One said. "Sora, give me everything the reactor has. We're going after the cruisers." "Open. 1. 1. We have 1. We do this. 1. We know. We have one. 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 Captain. That's suicide, Hana protested. Those ships are designed to fight other warships. They're designed to fight other warships in open space where sensors work, Day One corrected. Here, they're just big, slow targets. The remnant accelerated through the densest part of the nebula. The first heavy cruiser detected them too late. The human ship came in fast and close. Too close for the cruiser's main weapons to track properly. Junho fired the kinetic accelerator at point-blank range. The tungsten round punched through the cruiser's shields and hull, tearing through critical systems. The massive ship began to list. One cruiser disabled, G1 confirmed. But the other one is coming around. The second heavy cruiser had better positioning. It opened fire with everything it had. The remnant's shields flared under the assault. Shields at 40%, Mina called out. Keep moving, Day One ordered. Don't let them get a solid lock. The remnant twisted through the nebula clouds, using every trick Hyun had learned. The heavy cruiser pursued. But its size worked against it. The human ship could turn faster, accelerate harder, and navigate the dangerous gas pockets with more precision. Junho, do we have any missiles left? Day One asked. 3, sir. Fire them at the cruiser. I don't care if they hit. I just need a distraction. The missiles launched. The Krell cruiser's defensive systems engaged, shooting down 2 of them. The third detonated close enough to temporarily blind their sensors. Now! Day One shouted. The remnant came around in a tight turn that would have torn apart most ships. Sora's reactor modifications held. The ship's reinforced hull handled the stress, and Junho's railguns had a perfect shot at the cruiser's engines. The projectiles hit dead center. The cruiser's main drive exploded. The ship went dark, dead in space. Both cruisers down, Hyun confirmed. Remaining enemy ships are breaking formation. The 4 surviving Krell vessels had had enough. They fled the nebula as fast as their engines could carry them. The remnant let them go. Silence filled the bridge. The crew sat in their stations, exhausted and hardly believing they had survived. Damage report, Day One said quietly. Hull breaches on 3 decks, Hana reported. Shield generators need replacing. The reactor is stable, but running hot. We'll need major repairs. Casualties? Minor injuries throughout the ship. Nothing life-threatening. Sir, we won. The realization spread through the bridge. They had faced 12 ships, including heavy cruisers, and they had won. The Krell fleet was destroyed. Mina, send a message to the Council Patrol, Day One ordered. Tell them, we have multiple disabled pirate vessels in the Cassian Nebula that need collection. Include our full combat logs. Sir, those logs will show everything we did, Ji-won said. The traps, the tactics, all of it. Good, Day One replied. Let the galaxy see exactly what happened when the Krell tried to destroy one human ship. The news of the battle spread faster than any previous story. A single human vessel had defeated a Krell war fleet. The details made it even more impressive. The remnant had turned a nebula into a battlefield and used tactics that no other species had ever considered. On Earth, people celebrated. Humanity had proven beyond any doubt that they belonged in space. At the Galactic Council, the mood was different. The Velthans and Rixians looked at the combat data with something approaching fear. The humans had taken a worthless mining ship and created something that could defeat military vessels in open combat. Ambassador Taeho stood before the council once again. This time, there was no laughter. The remnant will need to return to Earth for repairs, he announced. We estimate 3 months of work. And then? The Velthan speaker asked. Then Captain Day One and his crew will return to their patrol route, protecting human interests, defending against pirates, following every regulation you've written. The council would like to discuss new limitations on human ship modifications, a Rixian representative said carefully. Taeho smiled politely. Of course. We're always happy to discuss regulations. But I should mention that Earth has begun construction on 3 new vessels, based on the Remnant design, all registered as mining ships, naturally. All within current regulations. The chamber fell silent. On the Remnant, Day One stood in the observation bay, looking at the damage his ship had taken. It was scarred, battered, but victorious. Hana joined him. 3 months of repairs. What do you think the council will do? They'll try to change the rules, Day One said. Create new regulations to stop us from building more ships like the Remnant. Will it work? Day One smiled. No. Because by the time they write new rules, we'll have already figured out how to work around them. That's what humans do. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. The War Master's final message is being broadcast everywhere, Hana said. Before his ship was destroyed, he sent one last transmission. He called us demons who fight without honor. What do you think about that? I think honor is for people who can afford it, Hana replied. We were given scrap and told to defend ourselves. We did what we had to do to survive. Day One nodded. The council gave us garbage and expected us to fail. Instead, we built the most lethal ship in the galaxy. And we did it by following their own rules. Far across space, in shipyards and research facilities, other humans were already at work, learning from the Remnant, improving on its design, creating new ships that would be even better. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. They had thought, giving Earth an obsolete mining ship would keep them in their place. They were wrong. Humanity had taken that scrap and forged it into a legend. And they were just getting started.